Football Show Gaming Society. I'm Dave Anderson. That's Mike Vick. Week 17. Now, not normal week 17. I just messed that up. This is just week 17. There's always been 17 weeks, but we got another week 18. But we're not talking about that today. Mike, look, you see what's behind me here? Do you see all these books? Do you see the? Did you see this?
I see you rocking at number 80.
No. That's my brother-in-law. Big shout out to my brother-in-law. See if I can point at him. Eric Lorig. There's Grandpa with my daughter, and there's my wife in her headshot. I put those all in there for you.
Showed everybody some love.
If anyone's watching out there, they could all take a look. But yeah, that's I'm trying to step up my game. I'm out here at my in-laws' house in the Palm Desert. I'm trying to keep up with Mike Vick a little bit.
Yeah, man, you got to show the in-laws love too, even when you don't want to.
Normally this would be the last week of the season. Week 17. It's always weird to say because you play 16 games because you have a bye, but week 17, and it would be a weird week, right? Because if you're not in playoff contention, everyone's just thinking about don't get hurt the whole game, and give me a very simple game plan. Let's get out of here. We don't even care if we win or lose. But this week is a huge week for a lot of teams, and especially because there's 2 weeks left. But a huge week on all-in bets, Mike Vick. I don't know if you know this, but we signed off early last week, and we forgot to give an all-in bet. So we doubled up. I channeled my inner Mike Vick. Do you know what we put our money on?
Nah.
This week's all-in bets of the week, Mike Vick and I converged, so I'm just going to take this over, Mike. We're going Eagles over the Giants. That's right. Both Dave Anderson and Mike Vick taking the Eagles. We're expecting a blowout. Mike Glennon now taking over for the Giants, coming back over after a rough week last week. The Eagles playing for playoffs.
And that's exactly what happened.
We're back to 6-5. We're positive. We got 2 weeks left. We can't ruin it right here. But I think about when I saw the Eagles beating up on the Giants, I thought of it like when you get a discount on a store and you weren't even planning on it. When they're like, oh yeah, it's 25% off. You're like, shoot, I thought this was gonna be $400.
Walk right into a deal. That'd be the best.
So that's what you got, Mike. You got a good deal on the all-in bet. We'll run those back at the end of the show here, but there's a lot to talk about. Mainly what we always like to start with is who really impressed you. I know who impressed me, but it's been a lot of football played now. There's a lot of people we could talk about. I'm curious who really stood out to you last week.
Cincinnati impressed me.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it later on in the show, but I mean, just the togetherness that they have. They're playing winning football, and I think Zach Taylor has really got his guys to buy into a winning mindset, his culture, what it really takes to be the best in the AFC North. And they truly stepped up, and they beat some really good teams this year. So I'm excited about Cincinnati if they make it into the postseason, but definitely was super excited about how they played this past weekend.
Cincinnati, I feel like all year long has just been that team that goes like 3-4 every quarter of the season. 3-4, and all of a sudden you're like, they're not killing anybody. They didn't start off 8-0. They weren't the team to talk about at any point in the season. Now come towards the end of the season, they're there and they're winning their division, and they've been very consistent. That's the key. I'm going to stick with some AFC South friends here. I'm really proud of the Tennessee Titans for doing what they're doing without Derrick Henry. I think a lot of people counted them out as soon as King Henry went down, and they're still hanging around. They're still winning that division. And then I got to give a lot of credit to Indianapolis Colts this week or last week, beating the Arizona Cardinals. That's a tough matchup for a team like Arizona, and they played a hell of a game, and they won it in every facet. And I'm proud of my AFC South boys over there.
Since you named two teams, I'm gonna name one more team that's in the AFC South who I was very impressed with: the Houston Texans.
There we go.
Your boys, they shocked the Chargers. They shocked LA. So yeah, moving on. But yeah, that happened. They actually.
You know what? It's a good reminder to people just how talented the NFL is. I got an interesting stat thrown my way from a guy that there has been more players played in the NBA than ever. They've just been grabbing guys off the bench, grabbing guys on the G League, and it's not even halfway through the season. They've played more NBA players, and he said, "Do you think that has decreased the level of competition?" And how much do you think that compared to like NFL as guys are getting moved up from practice squad? And I said, you're seeing a lot of teams get rid of their original scheme and just start scheming for players and doing kind of what the Patriots have always done, right? Like, if we don't have this guy week to week, we got to figure it out. And I thought it's been really impressive with NFL teams.
Yeah, well, that allowed guys to play fast, too. You simplify things. And what I really like about it is that these second-tier guys, third-tier guys, so to speak, they're getting an opportunity. They're getting a chance to play. I've seen more guys that I played with that was on the scout team consistently from maybe 2009 to maybe 2015 who hung around, played, went to other places, and was productive. So it goes to show that they learn. It goes to show that they got talent.
Hey, I was a practice squad guy. 8 weeks my rookie year.
Example.
Got brought up. Played my second year. The thing is, like, you get comfortable there. You're starting to play against pros week in, week out. Especially if your team practices hard, you actually you feel like you're getting real reps, and you get out there in the game, and you're ready. A lot of people don't think you're ready, but I mean, these guys are pros. They take care of their bodies. They take care of their system. They understand what they have to do. It's been impressive to watch some of this football getting played, even though it's not. It's been some backup. So I'm pretty proud of those guys. The Bengals and Burrow, I think we're just going to have to continue to talk about because they are our newsletter's intriguing matchup, right? And there is no doubt that this game against Kansas City is going to be probably the most watched game in the NFL this week, right? You got a guy like Burrow who is probably going to be competing against Mahomes year in, year out for AFC titles if it goes the way people think. But I have a stat for you. The Bengals are the first team in NFL history to have a 4,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard rusher, and 2 1,000-yard receivers who are all the age of 25 or younger in the same season.
Boyd and Chase?
Yeah, impressive.
That's very impressive.
Impressive. Young guns. I'm trying to think about the teams I was on. We had Andre dominated, but we didn't have a second receiver break 1,000. I remember Kevin Walter went for like 890 and was really pissed. We had Andre and Arian Foster, but Andre was over the age of 25 by the time Foster took over, so that kind of threw everything off. And then Schaub he looked like he was 45, but he was actually just 30. Your first couple years, who was your number one the first 2 years?
Brian Finneran and Sean Jefferson.
Brian Finneran.
Yeah. Brian, we both made each other stars in our own right.
Yeah.
Brian played a long time, and Sean was kind of at the end of his rope in like year 13, 14, but he was a true leader and a savvy veteran. So we made it work, man. We went to the divisional round. Those was my guys, and that's why I learned to play quarterback because I didn't start out with a dynamic. I didn't start out with a Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
That's what Chase reminded me of, Odell Beckham, when he first came in.
Can you tell me what that does for a quarterback's mentality? Like you and the situation you're in with a veteran wide receiver who probably is not going to catch a slant and go 80 every other game versus a Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham type. What does that do for you your first couple of years? Do you get spoiled by it, or what do you learn versus not learn?
Yeah, obviously, I think for a quarterback, you're going to naturally look to your playmaker. Second and 8, third and 9. I'm thinking Jamar Chase. I'm thinking Deshaun Jackson, especially if I'm young, because that's a safety valve. That's a comfort level. And then I got a guy like Jeremy Maclin or Sean Jefferson. I'm just making comparisons, from 2001 to 2010. But a possession guy, a guy that I know I can count on. He might not beat one-on-one coverage all the time consistently, but if I go to him, he's going to be reliable. So especially being early in your career and being young, you're gonna lean to that number one, that playmaker, and you should naturally do so. So that's how the rapport comes together fast, and I can see that in Jamar and Joe.
How often does a guy like you play the coulda, shoulda, woulda game about like drafting a different player in your career or at some point? Because I feel myself every time someone asks me about NFL or something like that. I always tell people how lucky you have to be, not only where you're drafted, but who's drafted along with you. Like in the sequential years. How often do you play that game?
It's real. I always be like, what if I had a true number one in my second year and we beat Green Bay in the playoffs and lost to Philly in the divisional round? What if I had a Terrell Owens, or what if I had a guy like, back in my day, Eric Mose or Corn Robinson? These guys was like all-stars, or Andre Johnson. What if I had a guy like that when I was young, a game breaker? And I think I had everything else. Offensive line, we kind of made each other. The quarterback make the offensive line, and the offensive line make the quarterback. The evidence to that is look at Green Bay. Offensive line shuffle, but still doing a great job. So, yeah, man, you always play the coulda, woulda, shoulda game, because
you never know, because you missed out. Yeah, you missed out. You're like, how could we have gotten over that hump? Yeah. Well, that hump, Cincinnati Bengals are tied for third best record in the AFC, sixth best odds to win the AFC. Still kind of on the outside looking in for a lot of people's perspective. Do you think these young guys can get it done come playoff time, come nut crunching time? Without the experience, they're going to run into teams with experience. They're going to run into the Patriots. They're going to run into Bills. They're going to run into the Chiefs. They're going to run into Titans. Teams that have been to those upper echelon, been to those divisional championships, been to those types of playoffs. Can a team like this make a run when they got young guys like that?
Well, luckily for them, they got the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. So you get that playoff experience. You get that playoff feel. It's not experience, it's feel. And just a game of huge magnitude, a lot to play for. You got one of the game's best and some of the game's greatest on the other side. So you get to see if you measure up. So this will be a good contest, a good measuring stick. And obviously once they get in the playoffs, they felt this type of intensity. They felt this type of anxiety, this type of pressure, because it comes along with it. So I think it's going to help them moving forward because they're a young group.
I like that answer. I also think that, like, you got guys that in college were playing for meaningful games too. You got Burrow that played for national championships, Chase that played for national championships. You got some guys over there that, at least in your more meaningful players. Not to compare a college national championship with a Super Bowl and playoffs, because I do think there's a huge difference. But like I couldn't tell you how much. I never played for a meaningful game. I mean, I played in the Poinsettia Bowl in Colorado State. Yeah, we played in the Poinsettia Bowl was the week before the Holiday Bowl, and then I played in the San Francisco Diamond Walnut Bowl. And you and like four other people. But I did play in the Liberty Bowl against TCU. That was when the Liberty Bowl was legit. And it was a New Year's Day. It was a New Year's Eve bowl, December 31st. I'll never forget. We got killed, but we ended up partying with all the TCU cats on Beale Street. Great night. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But the AFC Conference Championship is broken down. I'm reading the odds here. Kansas City still favored plus 175. You got Buffalo Bills after what they did to New England plus 350. Then you got a big drop off. You got the Colts, Patriots, Titans, and then an extra long shot with Bengals, Ravens, Chargers. Would you bet on them? Maybe. Okay, first of all, do the Bengals get to the divisional past the wild card round?
They might be facing a team like the Colts, or they may be facing a team like the Titans. So it's going to be a measuring stick.
It'll be a away game. Well, no, if they win their division, which they're likely to, it'll be a home game.
– Wild card is good enough for the Bengals this year. They might not agree with that, but I think that's as far as they go.
Now, here's even tougher bet. Would you bet on a team like that to make a Super Bowl appearance in the next 4 years?
Yes. I think with Joe Burrow, I think with Jamar, and I think adding some free agents, because now you're going to get guys who are going to want to go to Cincinnati because now you got a quarterback who can win. So they're going to get better.
People don't realize how powerful that is. When you have a quarterback, you can not only can you recruit receivers, you can recruit running backs, you can recruit offensive linemen, you can recruit defensive line. Everybody wants to go where there's a quarterback.
Man.
And if there's one thing that's really exciting about the NFL right now, it has a bright future with all the stars at quarterback. It doesn't have the NBA's problem where, all their stars are aging. They got LeBron probably on his way. He's on the crest of his career. So, this NFL, when Tom Brady's finally done, he's going to hand it off to some studs. And not just one or two. It looks like we have 4 or 5 studs, and half of them are probably in the AFC West. Bengals are 5-point dogs. Kansas City, -5. They're favored with a 43.5-point total. I'm taking the over there because I think this game's at Cincinnati. It's not going to be pretty weather, but I think that's an over. But I'm curious who you think is going to win this game. At Cincinnati, Kansas City's a favorite.
Yeah, I'm taking the over with you. I think Kansas City win. They got the experience, and they're going to come into their territory, and they're going to come into that environment, and they're going to feel like they're at home. They're going to feel good about where they at. They're very confident. They're riding a 9-game win streak, and once you get rolling like that, it's hard to slow down the momentum. So they're going to carry that into Cincinnati. But it's a good test for Cincinnati, like I said. But I do think the Chiefs come out on top.
The Betting Academy, we're talking about playoffs. Playoffs! With 32 games in the season, let me read this off for you here. 6 teams have clinched a playoff spot. Okay, the other 8 teams, the other 8 are spots available. Basically, we have Chiefs, Buccaneers, Rams, Cardinals have all joined the Packers and Cowboys in the 14-team field. There are 8 other teams currently among the top 14 that are guaranteed to make the playoffs if they win their final 2 games. So basically, the next 8, if they win their final 2, they're in. The odds of that happening are slim and none. So what we're saying is there are 24 teams still mathematically alive to go to the playoffs. That has never been seen with 2 games left in the season. Granted, there's never been a 17-game season. So this is going to be even more chaotic. And mathematically, with 17, I don't know how they're going to do some of this math. It's not a clean number like 16, but it's going to be a crazy finish, and one that's never actually happened. Because I guarantee none of those teams are going to win their next 2. But what we're going to do here for the Betting Academy is a money line parlay. Okay. So this is one bet that ties together a bunch into one, right? So it's like it's all the all you can eat package. You pay $40. You go to Sizzler. You eat as much as you want. You pieces all together.
You do you.
You do you. Exactly right. So this is the you do you money line parlay. All right. So which clinch scenario are you willing to bet on in week 17? So we're talking about clinching. Can the Packers clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC they can clinch with a win and a Cowboys loss. So you need a Packers win and a Cowboys loss. The Cowboys are playing the Cardinals. Are you taking that bet? So that would be a Packers win, Cowboys loss.
No.
I'm
not taking that bet.
Why?
Cowboys coming on strong right now. Their offense last week looked prolific. They look prolific.
And their defense.
And the defense.
Did you see that guy make that? Did you see that defensive lineman make that play and run like he was?
D. Lawrence. That's the homie, D. Lawrence. Oh, I'm talking about athleticism at its finest. Competition around the league right now is at its all-time highest. It's crazy.
The ability for defensive linemen to realize when they're not getting to the passer, get their eyes up, and get their hands and bodies in passing lanes is something I thought J.J. Watt did an amazing job when early on in his career. It is way better now. Yeah, defensive linemen are so destructive, even if they don't get to the passer, because they're so long.
As much as I hate to see it, I love when I see one of those guys catch a pass like that and get to run the rock for a minute. They get to come to the other side for a second, and that's cool, man. They uncoordinated, don't know what to do. D. Lawrence broke a tackle. He broke a tackle. I'm like,
Not just broke a tackle, stepped through and jumped out of a potential tackle.
those dudes got talent too.
Come to the other side. I like that. I like that where all of a sudden the bullets are flying at them and they don't get to just do whatever they want. That's a great description. All right, so we're not taking the first parlay. Second parlay. The Chiefs can clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC with a win and a Titans loss. Do you like both of those? The Chiefs play the Bengals, so that would need to be a win. And the Dolphins are playing the Titans.
I'll take that.
Ooh.
Titans going to come strong. Good test for Tua, though. A good test. I like where they at. 7 in a row. Good.
So that parlay odds is a plus 268. That's a good bet. If you think you can get both of those, that's a good bet. Your toughest bet, actually, there is the Chiefs to beat the Bengals. I'm sorry. That's minus 225. They're favored by 5. I'm sorry. It's the Dolphins over the Titans. That's plus 155.
Got you.
So that's interesting. Okay. The Rams can clinch the NFC West with a win and a Cardinals loss. This gets back to your first bet, which I think you might like this. The Rams are playing the Ravens, though, who you always like, but I don't know if Jackson's going to be back from his ankle. And the Cowboys will need to beat the Cardinals. Do you like that bet?
I don't like that bet because if Lamar Jackson show up, that cape on, that S on his chest is over. They got a lot to play for.
Here's why I don't like that bet. This is a parlay that's plus 126. If you can't get a parlay bet that's at least with 2 bets over 200, 3 bets should be over 400. Don't take a parlay bet that's plus 126. You could get a normal bet that's plus 120. You only got to worry about one game and getting it right. There is nothing worse than a parlay, like having a 4 or 5 team parlay and being on the last part of it and not getting it, right? It's like finishing your Sizzler and then be like, oh, by the way, you have to pay for dessert.
Right.
What?
Alligator.
You told me this is all I can eat.
Yeah.
No, well, the dessert tables, they charge you an extra $12.
That's a great description.
So they screw you. So if we're taking this, I'm with you. I like this AFC bet. Clinch Chief, the number 1 seed with an AFC win. So they're going to beat we got them beating the Bengals, and we got the Dolphins beating the Titans. I like that. I like that. This is a big test for Tua.
Yeah, man. And the momentum is just going upward for the Miami Dolphins right now. I really like what Brian Flores is doing. Those guys are learning how to win. That's been my thing this year. I'm watching teams learn how to win, man. And it's so important that you go through the ups and downs so you can learn from your mistakes, watch film, pull from it, and then correct it.
How come you think some teams learn how to win and some teams always figure out a way to lose?
Confidence. And that starts with your coach. Your coach give you the confidence. When you see your coach kind of like slumping and not really feeling it, and you watching him in the media and watching him speak, and the words are not verbatim, and it seems like he deflecting. Oh man, you know.
Interesting.
So I think it's the leadership.
I think it's leadership. I also think there's something on the field. Like I remember when your best players make a big play in a game, it really gets everyone going. And when it's hard to rally if your best player makes a bad play in the beginning of the game, you're like, damn. Especially if you're already down, right? If you're winning 7 in a row and your best player has a bad, drops a touchdown or whatever, that's fine. You can overcome that. But when you're down and your quarterback throws a pick 6 to start off the game, that's rough.
Whew. Hard to overcome. And then you got to expect him. And then now you're looking at him to be uplifting. And now he kind of slumping. And he not confident. It shows. It shows in your face. It shows in your... People don't understand how important body language is. Body language is everything.
Especially for a quarterback. Like, if I never understood why some quarterbacks made it that had terrible body language. Like, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I'm gonna segue. We'll get the amount of quarterbacks that are drafted, and we're gonna get to the draft here in a second. So this will be a nice segue. When you watch him in college, I'm like, this guy does not seem confident enough to step into a huddle. He throws a pick, and his head's all over the place, and he's pointing, and he throws his arms.
Like, you did it. You
did Did someone coach you on that? Did you just see it on film, or did you have guys that you admired that acted a certain way? Because I feel like that's something that is it coachable? Is it
college to pro? When I learned how to play the game from a mental perspective, when I made a mistake, I knew why, and I'm coming to the coach to explain to him why I did it. Before he can get to me, I'm going to him. So I'm not making blind throws. Some throws might be arrogant throws. I might take a shot here. I might gamble here or there. But I'm gonna justify why I did that, and I think guys don't have no justification on why certain things happen. That was a part of the play. I just tried to throw it there and fit it in. No, why did you try to do that? So, once that happens and you start showing that confusion, and oh man, it's over.
So when you used to throw picks, you used to have to keep your head on a swivel because they could lay out. It would be 11-on-1. They were all looking for a quarterback. Walk me through. Michael Vick throws an interception. What's the first thing you used to do?
Start looking around. Who coming? Because when I was playing, and this wasn't too long ago, they looking to knock the quarterback out. It's like, get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
But I remember interception I threw vividly against the Chicago Bears real quick. And all week, I'm trying to make this throw in practice, and Andy Reid kept telling me, you're not going to make the throw. That coverage is not going to allow you to do it. I'm like, Coach, I got the arm strength. I'm trying to fit it. It was between Urlacher and Briggs and a single high. And we had this like post concept. We trying to hit it, and I missed it a couple times in practice. And then we get in the game. I see the same look, and I'm like, I'm gonna show Coach that I can. This was real. This can happen. And I threw a pick, and I walked to him, and he just looked at me, and he just, you did it. You really believed in that. I tried to coach you out of that, and you believed in that. So I knew, and I couldn't. My body language was more so. Man, he told me not to do it. So, it wasn't like, I did it and it was a misfire or a bad read.
And when did you ever catch yourself on film having bad body language and tell yourself, I'm never going to do that again? Or did you kind of always have this grit to yourself that you're like, whatever, next play, I'm over it?
I used to, I fumbled more than I threw picks. I took more pride in protecting the ball, playing keep away from the defense. So if you look at my touchdown interception ratio over the years, it was always up to par. I fumbled a lot more. But I just, taking care of football was everything, and not letting the game get away from me was everything. And that's pretty much all I cared about, Dave, was staying in control. I threw 4 picks against Cleveland one time. And we had a drive at the end of the game. The only game in my career where I threw 4 interceptions. And we had a game-winning drive. After all I did, good and bad, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks. Got to go 94 with 1:30. I drove us the length of the field, and we won. Ooh. And, that's what I took. And I threw the game-winning touchdown pass. So what I took away from that was, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. You're going to fall. You got to get up. And my team believed. We all believed in the end. Next thing you know, we was in the end zone.
The topic I've been kind of looking forward to actually asking you about, besides now you just cut me off talking about body language, is the number 1 draft pick is going to be up, right? So there's some teams not playing for playoffs, they're playing for the number 1 pick. That's the Jaguars and the Lions. First question I have for you, did you pay attention to who had the number 1 pick come right, so you're at Virginia Tech. What was your last college football game?
My last college football game was the Gator Bowl versus Clemson in 2000.
Was that a December bowl or a January bowl? So you guys had. Was your game after the last game of the season? So you already knew who the number 1 pick was going to be?
Yeah, it was I think the end of the season ended maybe on that day. The NFL season on January 1st, and that was the day our bowl game. So everything was final, and San Diego was looking like the worst team in the league, and they was going to have the number 1 pick. So I kind of eyeballed everything up until the last minute, and I knew
that. It was were you? I can't remember. Were you the clear number 1 that year, or was there you and someone else?
Well, I think Drew could have went number 1. Maybe LaDainian Tomlinson. could have went number one. So it was a couple guys in that draft, but it was based on who needed what, I think.
Yeah. Well, these teams have a lot of needs. The Jaguars don't have a quarterback need, and that's good because I think this quarterback class is average. It's good. There'll be some first rounders, but there's not a number one pick, and there's not a couple guys that you would take at the top, I don't think. The Lions, not sure what they're doing. The Jaguars got New England, who is definitely going to come out there and try to pound them. And then they're also at Indy, who are both playing for playoffs. So they have an interesting situation. The Lions might get away with this. They have Seattle, who knows what's going on in Seattle. Looks like Russell Wilson's trying to find his way out of there some way, somehow. And then they're going to be at Green Bay, who might have a playoff spot clinch, or might not have a playoff, but might have the... like we were just talking about with the parlay, might have the NFC number one spot clinch, and they won't have to play for anything. So it'll be interesting to see the last couple weeks of the season. But if you want to bet on the fewest wins, minus 250 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looks like they are the front runner for having the number one pick, and the Lions are plus 185. I'm curious. You're in that locker room. What is that? You ever been on a team like that? That's down and out like that? Are you? They're already. I know those guys. I've been on a team that make the playoffs. You're certainly thinking about next year.
I was on the Jets, man. We went 4-12, and I think we was 3-12 before week 17. And you just know it's over, man. You know guys are going to move on. You're already thinking about what the next move might be. You think about everything that transpired through the season and how tough it was of a journey. Like, that's a tough journey, man. From practice to travel. It's tough, man. So, never been a part of it as like, a 2-14 team or 1-15 team, but 4-12 is close enough.
Michael Vick is the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Are you going Thibodeau or Hutchinson? Are you rebuilding around a defense? Do you trade and try to get more picks for what you're doing? What do you do?
I want to protect Trevor Lawrence. I got to protect my investment. The only way we stick around is if we score points. Now, I know the defense can stop guys, but if we can't score points on offense, we don't even have a chance. So, is it offensive lineman in that group?
So Evan Neal is that offensive lineman from Bama. So, but he's a plus 1,100, plus 1,000 to be the first pick. So if you're Jacksonville, you trade back and take Evan Neal, maybe.
Yeah, you shake it up a little bit. Let's.
I like that.
Get dirty.
We got
I like it.
Two really good games. I'm really interested to see Cincinnati versus Bama here. But curious. Alabama ranked number 1. Cincinnati snuck in there at number 4, or deservedly so, maybe didn't sneak in there. That's your first semi. The second game, Michigan versus Georgia. First thing these teams got to do is figure out how to get on the field, because we've been seeing a lot of these games getting canceled. I'm curious. Let's start with Bama versus Cincinnati. Who do you like there? It's a minus 13.5 spread, which is crazy for a college football semifinal. But it seems about rightfully so for Bama versus Cincinnati. Start me with Bama versus Cincinnati. What do you know about these two teams?
Well, no, Alabama got a really good quarterback. He just won a Heisman. He's riding high. He's not just worthy of the Heisman, he's worthy of being the number 1 pick in the NFL down the road. That's how composed he is.
Yeah.
And when you're playing with a lot of talent, you learn how to use talent. You learn how to use the talent around you. And I think he has a good understanding of what needs to happen in the offense in order for it to be successful on a week-out basis. I do like Cincinnati. I like their quarterback too. I haven't watched him enough, but I do know he got enough, cachet to, be a prolific quarterback on the next level. But can he overcome all the talent that's going to be on the other side of the ball with the Alabama defense? I don't know. I think it might be a little overwhelming, but it's going to be a good test. It should be a good game. So Alabama, great quarterback. Since he got a great quarterback, two teams is going duel it out. But obviously, I think Alabama wins.
I'm always interested in how long it takes these quarterbacks that are just surrounded by talent, like guys from Alabama, versus a guy who has to really build up the talent and the confidence of people around him, like Cincinnati's quarterback. What I mean by how long it takes is for them to be a good pro. You see a lot of quarterbacks come from, whatever system it is. If it is Bama, or if it's USC back in the day when they got studs, and you wonder about Sanchez. Like, was it just the guys around him or something like that? Like, I'm always curious because it gets back to what you're saying about having a number one receiver. They're almost like it doesn't matter. Right? Like, if I'm Alabama's quarterback, it doesn't matter. Across the board, we are more athletic, left to right, front to back, first string, second string. If anything, they're just trying to wear down Cincinnati and get their twos on the field and just beat them up. I'm always curious, like, what goes through those quarterbacks' minds sometimes.
Yeah, well, I think the Alabama quarterback, I think he done been through enough this season. Like, he had a couple come from behind wins and a lot of games where they just wasn't blowing out the opposition. So he faced some adversity, and I'm always looking for what do you do when you face adversity? How did the quarterbacks handle adversity when he was down 21-3 in the second quarter? Did he stay composed, and did he get back out there, and did he make play after play after play, and had a setback, maybe had a pick, maybe had a fumble, but kept pushing and going forward? And I want to see the grit. So he showed me enough grit, and I think when you can find that in the quarterback through the difficult times, not when everything is good, how do you respond when it's difficult? Now I trust you. I trust you in any situation. I trust you being down in the fourth quarter.
Do you think they can win by more than 2 touchdowns?
Yes.
All right. So we got Bama minus 13.5. I think I'm with you. We're both taking Bama. I see a team like Bama. Nick Saban is built for the playoffs. Give him time to prepare. Give him time to wear out. I'll never forget what he said when they lost at Clemson. He said, my defensive linemen had 60 snaps in them. They snapped the ball 67 times. That's why we lost. He had it down to know exactly what he could get out of his team. And he was right, and that's why he was worried. That's why they lost. The other semifinal, I think it is more intriguing for a lot of reasons, mainly because Michigan. Let's be honest. People have been waiting for Michigan and Harbaugh to be good to get his chance. You got number 2 Michigan versus number 3 Georgia. I'm always surprised by Michigan. I'm gonna say, but like, I don't know. Do they have a chance in the Orange Bowl against Georgia?
Yeah, man. It's like Michigan. They just had it coming, man. You can see it mounting up to what they accomplished this year. And Jim he's a mastermind at what he do. He know how to run the football. He know how to pass the ball. He got coaching experience on the collegiate and the pro level, so he know what it takes. At some point, once he got his recruits up and going, and once he.
But Georgia's got dogs.
They got dogs. They do, but can they stop that run game? I just feel like Michigan's on to something, man. They on to something. And that Michigan-Alabama game, how intriguing would that be? Even Alabama-Georgia. But Michigan-Alabama, for it all.
I have a question. You're not an SEC guy. I'm not an SEC guy. Are you sick of seeing all these SEC teams in here and talking SEC football, SEC football? You love it?
Yeah, because those guys, they represent, man. And these other conferences got to step their game up. I wasn't a big fan of the SEC. I thought the SEC was slow. For real. I did. I would have ran through the SEC.
Who's the best team in the SEC when you were playing? Florida?
It was Florida. It was Florida, and then Alabama, because I remember Alabama, they had the running back who played for Alexander.
That's right, Sean Alexander.
And so I remember seeing them, and we played them in a bowl game at Virginia Tech when I was sidelined. But I remember looking at them and was like, we whipped them. Virginia Tech whipped them.
See, I was around when SC was still beating everybody. West Coast got to get it right. I think Lincoln Riley. I'm excited for that. Not to derail this conversation, but football is better when there's a good team out of West. It's got to be SC. I also want to see Texas be good again. Like, God, but now they're in the SEC.
UCLA gonna be good real soon.
UCLA is always getting better. I love these West Coast football teams, but. The semifinal game, then you got the national championship game January 10th. We will be back for all of that. COVID has had many issues, and it's caused a lot of issues on football teams, but it's caused more issues on fantasy football teams because there's 32 NFL teams and there's probably 32 million fantasy football teams, and people are getting a little pissed off. I saw it happen in a couple of my leagues. And fantasy and COVID knocked out Paul Pierce and KG.
Yep.
Now we got Chelsea Gray, WNBA superstar, versus Paul Tagliabue, our commissioner. We're gonna have to check the books on this. You know, it's a little suspicious when your commissioner first year makes it to the finals. He's got a team that always seems to get around some of the rules. You know, all of a sudden the guy's got his own podcast and he's talking about his own show. He wants some more pub time. All of a sudden the waiver wire is always in his favor. I'm not sure who we're rooting for. I'm rooting for Chelsea Gray.
I'm going to ride with Chelsea, too.
Yeah, let's ride with Chelsea. I like this. All right, we got our all-in bets. Now, last week I did it for you, Mike, and we won. I'm not going to do it for you this week.
Nah.
We got some good ones. I'm going to list these off for you. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, we got Falcons, Bills, Giants, Bears, Chiefs, Bengals. I'm going to read the teams off because I don't know if the spread matters that much. You're going to pick a team and then I'll give you the spread. Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins, Titans, Raiders, Colts, Jaguars, Patriots, Bucks, Jets, Eagles, Redskins, Rams, Ravens, Broncos, Chargers, Texans, Niners, Cardinals, Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. Who do you like? Who do you want me to look at?
I started to stop you after Jaguars, Patriots. They need to go no further because the Patriots are looking for a get-right game and a get-back game, and here it comes.
Vikings at Packers, Browns at Steelers, but you want the Jaguars at Patriots. The line is 15.5.
Yeah.
You don't care.
I don't care. What's the over?
The over is 41.5.
Taking that too.
I love it.
Or 35. It's going to be 35-7.
50, I like that. 51 degrees in Massachusetts. That's summer weather for those cats out there.
Man.
I love it. I love that bet right there. Okay, I'm going. Oh gosh, I don't like that. I liked it before. I don't like it now. I'm going Dolphins Titans. I'm gonna go the Dolphins to cover. I'm going to the Dolphins to cover. They're 3.5-point dogs. It's in Nashville. I do like that. I like what we were talking about. I'm listening to my inner Mike Vick. It's failed me before, but I don't think it's gonna fail me again. I like the momentum that they got going. I'm going with the Dolphins over the Titans, mainly because the Dolphins they can be a little hungrier. Like if they win, they can get in, and I feel like they're gonna be fighting a little harder than the Titans. Titans are gonna be fighting for that AFC South, but I think they're gonna win that regardless. But that's my all-in. It's about that time at the end of the show when we just say, hey, we're not going to talk about football anymore. We're not going to talk about gambling. We're going to talk about something that's a little more fun in our life. This is a good one. Who is your cross-sport player comp? So who is the Mike Vick of the NBA? Who is the Mike Vick of Major League Baseball?
LeBron James. LeBron James, baby.
That's the Mike Vick of the NBA is LeBron James?
Yeah.
Okay.
Baseball.
Who's the Mike Vick of baseball?
So man, Judge from the Yankees.
You're just taking beasts. You're not big. You're not that big. You're not that big.
I like Corey Seager.
He's huge too.
Corey Seager 6'5"?
Yes.
You want me to say
LeBron James is 6'7".
All right. You want prototype size and
yes,
everything?
like who's your cross sport player comp? Like I know. Give me a better don't get me wrong. You are on the cover of Madden. You are an all pro. You're one of the greatest of all time.
Little man, big body.
Who?
Now it's tough. I would say you're an Allen Iverson was your player comp in the NBA.
I don't know.
So now,
okay,
I
ain't know you were saying. I thought you was talking current NBA.
Well, we don't have to do. It doesn't have to be current.
Oh yeah, I'd have been said AI.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt. I'd have been said AI. You know, come on, man. We come from the same place. We come from the same background.
Who's today's AI then?
Today's AI. Probably Steph Curry.
Yeah, probably a little. You probably got you're probably a Steph. You're a Steph and a Mookie Betts.
Steph and a Mookie Betts. I'll take that.
Mookie Betts is probably the best player in baseball and can roam the outfield. I feel like that's you. I'm the same way. I'm not playing the infield. I don't know if you've seen that ball come off a bat. I'm an outfielder. I'm a receiver. I'm an outfielder. I'm probably. Who is a Dave Anderson in the NBA? Do I have to be white?
No.
Okay, good. My player comp. You know what? When I play basketball, I play like Meta World Peace, where I rebound, I play defense, and if I steal it,
9.
I'm throwing the ball.
6'9", Dave. Dave, I'm not taller than a lot of people, but I'm taller than you. But I'm gonna let you have that.
All right.
I like what Meta World Peace.
All right, it's JJ Barea. We know it's JJ Barea.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, little JJ. He was dishing for a couple years. Where he at?
I don't know. He's probably out. Jason Williams was my guy back in the day, though. It is the last couple days here of 2021. What do you want to see happen? I want to wish everyone a happy new year. What is one thing you would love to see in 2022?
Well, first off, happy new year to everybody. Wish you all the best and amazing things in 2022. What I would love to see, I would love to see my son ride his bike without the training wheels. Right now, he got the training wheels on, and I know when he take that next step, he graduate next level, we got something to be proud about. We both know it's levels to life, and I'm teaching them that at a young age. So you got to cross that barrier right now.
I was gonna say I would love to see the Pac-12 bring in Colorado State, go to the Pac-20, and have relegation. But you know what, Mike Vick, watching a boy become a man is something special, and I can't wait to see that with my boys. So how about that? For all of you out there, have a happy holidays, have a happy new year, and for all you dads out there, let's hope you can get your kids off those training wheels. So that's it for the Gaming Society Football Show. That's Mike Vick. I'm David Anderson. Have a good one.